let's talk about the U. The U's looking pretty good. Mario Cristobal back for his third season as head coach. They went 7-6 last year. Lost to RU in the Pinstripe Bowl. Shout out Rutgers. Shout out New Jersey. Big win there. He's coming back with the same coordinating staff. 30th in returning production. 17 returning starters for Miami here. Number 5 recruiting class this year, which was the highest rated recruiting class Miami's had in many years.
Which is saying something because Mario Cristobal is a sick recruiter. I mean, it's the reason he has this job is he's a great recruiter, and they've, like you said, gone 16th, 7th, and now 5th. I think they're already up in the top for next year too. They're good at accumulating talent. The question is, what do they do with it? Yeah,
this is the best, the highest rated recruiting class Miami's had in the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. So that's at least for the future. You like that. The Tyler Van Dyke era of Miami football is officially over. He is now a Badger.
Congratulations to him. He just got named the starter today too.
What?
He just got named starter.
There was debate.
Tanner
Mordecai?
Mordecai's gone. I think they have a backup that they like.
Okay, so anyway, Tyler Van Dyke era is over. He's at Wisconsin now, but Miami's got their guy. True or false, Cam Ward is the best quarterback in the ACC? Him or Grayson McCall?
Yeah, he's better than Grayson McCall. Yeah,
okay, what about DJU?
DJU's not that good. It's Cam Ward by a pretty significant. I would argue he's one of the top 5 returning quarterbacks in the country.
What?
So I think he's that.
You're crazy for that.
He's that good. I mean, he is. He's one of the best talents in the country. I think at one point he was thinking about declaring for the NFL draft. That would have been crazy. But he will be an NFL quarterback. I mean, he'll be.
Keep in mind, you got Preston Stone, you got Kyron Drones.
Take Cam Ward over
Haynes King.
Yeah, I'll take Cam Ward over all those guys. I think those guys are really good. I think Preston Stone's probably the best passer
Kyle
in the conference. But
Tyler Shug.
You're just naming guys that are not.
I'm naming guys that I don't think Cam Ward's hands down the best quarterback in the whatever. We're getting off track. So anyway, they're set at quarterback. That's the point we're making. High hopes for Cam Ward this year at Miami. They did lose 2 of their top 3 running backs to the portal. Their RB1, Henry Parrish, is gone. He's at Ole Miss now. Their other guy, Donald Chaney, we were just talking about him. He's now at Louisville. But they brought in Damian Martinez from Oregon State. He rushed for about 1,200 yards last year in the Pac-12. So they got their RB1. By Miami running back standards, he's nothing like... I mean, they're fine at running back, but I mean, Miami always has talented skill positions, so I don't think that's a blowaway.
I think it is a blowaway. If you watched him last year, he went under the radar because Oregon State was good, but I think they got a lot of... Because it was the Pac-12, they didn't run as much. This kid's a star. I mean, he's...
Really, a star.
Really yeah, he's really a
star because he was running on the likes of Arizona State.
He's a star. He ran for 1,200 plus yards last year.
In the Pac-12.
Star. I said star. I mean star. He's a star.
You said it.
I said star. I mean star. This kid, he is a star.
I said star.
Kid.
I mean star.
They would. This is one of the. They got one of the best running back transfers and quarterback transfers in the country. Martinez isn't necessarily number 1 on that, but. He is a top transfer, and they got him, and star.
All right. Anyway, I said star. I mean star. As far as wide receivers, they're good, man, because Restrepo is back. Now his stats: 1,100 yards last year, led the team in receptions by far. But it's not just his stats. This dude is clutch as hell. Like whenever Miami needed a first down or a catch, he came through. Really like Restrepo a lot. He's so good, and he came back. And also their wide receiver too. That kid, his name's Jacoby George. He came back as well. So they got their top 2 wide receivers back. And they also brought in a kid that had over 800 yards with Houston last year. So it's not that they brought in a kid from the FCS. They brought in a kid from Houston that had 800 yards. So Miami, I believe Phil Steele said best wide receiving core in the ACC, right?
Yeah. I just said it on the last team. I thought Louisville was second behind this team. I mean, this receiving core is sick. Their top 2, like you said, back. Their third went to Georgia, but they replaced him with another Big 12 receiver, like he said. So, this is the best trio in the ACC, and I think you can probably argue in the country because of how good Restrepo is. So, it's a really good unit.
If you had to point out a weakness in the Miami offense, I guess you could point at the offensive line. They did lose 2 starters, but they brought in a kid from Indiana with starting experience in the Big Ten. So they should be fine at offensive line. Really, it's tough. If you're trying to poke holes in the Miami offense, you're going to have a hard time doing it because they're pretty loaded up with talent.
Yeah, this is like injury-plagued players back as well. He missed a lot of last season. They expect him to be pretty good. But yeah, it's definitely the weakness. But I think everything else is such a strength that this unit's only looked at as a weakness because everything else is so good. So this isn't a strong O-line under any circumstances, but it's a good it's a good overall unit, that's for sure.
All right, let's talk about the defense. Now this defensive line might be a freaking problem, and it's crazy. We just talked about how loaded the Miami offense is, but the defensive line. All right, they lost a lot of depth. If you actually read the players from last year and read who they lost probably 4 or 5 of their top 8. But the pieces they bring back, I mean, they still got Ruben Bain Jr., who's one of the best in the country. I mean, they have a monster on the defensive line there. And they also brought in a literal busload of transfers on that defensive line. They got a kid from NC State, Michigan State, Tennessee, Middle Tennessee. So, a bunch of FBS transfers are coming into play on this defensive line. And keep in mind, this was an elite defensive line last year. Go up to the defensive line numbers, Prop Beaver. The Miami defensive line, their Miami run defense was elite last year. And I know they lost some of their depth, but I don't think it's crazy to say that they're even better. It's going to be hard to run on the Miami defense this year. They do have 2 starters back at linebacker as well, and they add a kid from Louisville. So the defensive front 7 for Miami is pretty scary. If you're going to try to play this team and run the football, you're going to have a hard time. They were great against the run last year, may even be better this year. Now we get to the secondary, and again, if you're looking to poke holes somewhere, secondary could be a bit of a problem for Miami. They lost 3 of their best DBs from last year. They did add a safety from Washington who apparently is pretty good. I don't know who it is.
Yeah, he's a bit of an unknown, but yeah, there is a this whole unit overall unknown, but he's a young, highly recruited player, so kind of just has to fit. The pieces have to fit for that unit. Otherwise, they're probably going to get thrown on a good amount. They weren't necessarily great against the pass last year either. So, yeah, that's where they need to.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a little bit of a bigger factor this year because, okay, so like Andy said, not that their pass defense was terrible last year, but it was certainly the weakness of their defense was defending the pass. And you take into consideration, they're playing in the ACC that all of a sudden is loaded with quarterbacks. And that wasn't the case last year. I mean, a bunch of really talented quarterbacks have flooded into the ACC this year. They went from 2 or 3 respectable quarterbacks to 7 or 8 now. So there's a lot of teams in the ACC that should be able to throw the ball well. And then we should see a lot of really dynamic passing attacks in the ACC this year. So, I mean, look, I'm just trying to poke holes. I'm not if you're a Miami fan, I think we have some in the comments. I'm not shitting on you guys at all. I'm just saying if you're looking for something to worry about, it would be the fact that the pass defense might be the weakness of the team. So
yeah, they're built a little bit like USC was last year. Didn't have a good secondary, was pretty much good at everything else, but they're better in the secondary than they were. So I think they're going to compete at the top of this conference regardless. I think if they figure that out, they'll probably win the conference. So yeah, this is an overall, they're ranked in the top 25 for a reason. This is a really good team.
All right. Should we play the win-loss game?
Got to play the win-loss game.
Prop Beaver, let's play.
Week 1's tricky. I'll say.
That's all I'll say.
That's all I'll say. Week 1's just tricky. I don't really.
All right. Week 1 at Florida. What
tricky.
An opener. I mean.
Both teams need that game a lot. Brutally. So yeah, that's I would chalk it up as a win, but
Miami should be the better football team this year.
They're the better roster for sure. They're both pretty terribly coached, but they're yeah, both teams need it. I think Miami
I mean, going into the swamp is no bullshit, but I think they'll win. Let's give them a win.
I think they'll win.
How about this? We'll give them a win, and if there's a questionable one later in the schedule, we'll give them a loss.
They're starting 4-0.
Yeah, 4-0. Virginia Tech. How about this? They dropped Florida or Virginia Tech.
Okay.
So we'll put them at 4-1 after Virginia Tech. In case you missed us talk about Virginia Tech's going to be a problem. So I think that it's realistic to say they'll lose Florida or Virginia Tech. At Cal will be tough, but it's across the country, but they should win.
Yeah.
Cal, I don't dislike Cal at all, though, especially the quarterback they got. And if he's going to come out throwing the ball, we just talked about Miami secondary on the road across the country against a kid that can sling it. It's not exactly the most ideal spot, but they should win.
Yeah, they should win
Louisville?
the next one. That's off a bye, too. I like that one. Who does Louisville have the week before?
No, they got Louisville off the bye. So they get Louisville off the bye, which is huge.
Yeah, they're going off, and Louisville's coming off Virginia.
Yeah.
I would still side Miami in that one. They're still more talented than But again, I don't know what Miami's going to be at that point because you'd assume they're going to be 6-1 at that point, or 5-1 at that point. But you never know how their season's going to start with Florida. So I think they're very.
I think they dropped the home game to Florida State.
Yeah,
because
I think
Florida State plays on Friday, extra day rest before. So how about this? We'll give them the Louisville road win and a loss of Florida State. That puts them at 2 losses through 8 games. So 6-2, home Duke win. At Georgia Tech should be a win, but that's a tough one. And also, it's another team that's got a quarterback.
I got them at 10 wins. I think they're beaten.
Wake Forest at Syracuse. So in between 9 and 10 wins, it's got to be over. Because I have meant 9 or 10.
And I think they could sneak to go 10 to win 11.
Let's go over.
So
9 or 10.
Over.
But the reason I won't bet it is because there's about 4 games in there where I thought I was being responsible saying 2-2. Those 4 games could be 0-4 or 1-3.
Yeah.
They could also be 4-0. So
every year
swing games.
I feel like every year does the same dance with this team. They're always this talented.
No, I think this is the most highly touted
I do think
Miami
it's
year.
the best they've been, and they're also with the 12-team playoff. They know that they can kind of afford a loss this year. Usually their season's over right away.
Right.
But yeah, this team's definitely very tricky always.
Let's talk Narduzzi ball.
Yeah.
Narduzzi. Pitt